our number of convictions. So this is one huge area we need to figure out a solution for. And we definitely need some law enforcement assistance on this. This is the numbers that I was saying. It's increasing, decreasing the convictions by almost 1,900 a year, and that's from DDS's statistics. And our DOT crash statistics show our impaired crashes are increasing by almost 425 a year. And these are some of our impaired first offense convictions. And some of the pretty blatant, as you can see, is our younger drivers. We're getting, the males are getting 35% and the females are getting 40% of their first time convictions. So we obviously want to try to eliminate as much of those as we can. And these are some of our first, second, and third convictions. So we've got a considerable amount of folks out there with a second conviction in less than, by the time before they're 30 years old. And then we have the third conviction less than 30 years old. So that's a serious problem that we need to figure out an answer for. And we definitely need y'all's assistance, everyone's assistance, trying to figure out some answers to some of these. Our task team meets every second Wednesday, every other month, at 1 o'clock at TMC. And that's my contact information. If anybody needs some help, wants to help out and help us out and get this thing moving forward in the right direction. Thank you very much. Oh.
All right. Just going to take a minute to introduce myself. I'm Stephen Sheffield. I work as a corridor manager for an engineering consulting firm out of Duluth, Georgia. And my job places me on the road just about every day. So one of the behaviors that I've been seeing consistently as a driver in my profession, as well as a driver in my personal life, is just the level of distraction that has become so much a part of our driving experience. It's pretty common now for us to just be sitting at an intersection and then given a traffic light in Atlanta. The traffic light is turned green. So there's an expectation for the queue behind for the people in the front of the line to get their butts in gear and move on through the intersection. But what's happening is in my personal experience, my observation, is there are more folks who are just engrossed in their phones and doing, conducting their business of the day, whether it be on a phone call or checking their Facebook updates and their Instagram and that sort of thing, and just not paying attention. So that inspired me to get involved with the distracted driving task team, and so here we are. And we're pretty close to having a law in the books that's going to address some of these things, which is fantastic. But my goal today is just to walk you through our mission statement and some of the things that we've been working on for the last year and things that we're going to be doing going forward to address a lot of the issues that are going on in terms of public perception, education, enforcement, engineering, and emergency management. So our mission statement, and this is a little wordy, but I think it speaks directly to what we do. Our job is to reduce motor vehicle crashes, injuries sustained and fatalities, through systematic delivery of effective distracted driving countermeasures, and increase overall public awareness regarding the perils of distracted driving. So a lot of it is really about getting information out there about what constitutes distracted driving. Where does the hands-free law fit in with distracted driving? And what can we do to get people to comply with the law to make a road safer and fatality rates down? So we're working as a task team towards adding some components into the strategic plan. Part of what we're doing is, leading up to the passage of the hands-free law, we had very strong grassroots and boots on the ground support of the progression of House Bill 670 through close work with both the House and the Senate. We had a lot of media involved. There's a lot of private participation as well as public participation, and just getting the word out there about how important it is to have a hands-free law. Many of you saw the billboard that I had in front of our desk. So there's been a lot of effort both from private and public side to just get behind this bill and get it passed. And what we're looking to do now is now that we've established that this bill is going to become law, we kind of have to see what the behavior patterns are, because we don't really have a whole lot of data at our disposal to say, definitively, what are people doing? What's actually contributing to distraction? How are people behaving? How pervasive is the problem? How many people are actually distracted as they're driving? And part of that solution will be collecting data as they drive, seeing folks behave in their natural setting in their cars. They're kind of like the seatbelt. If folks have the expectation that they're going to be required to wear seatbelts, and they're now going to be expected to drive without having their phones in their hands, we have to be able to see what sort of behaviors they're exhibiting now in order to move forward and determine how to reduce those numbers. So, one of the things that I looked at that contributes pretty heavily to the content of my presentation is the recent House Study Committee report that was published that has a lot of key findings that led up to the passage of this bill. And a lot of the information here, I think, speaks directly to this audience as a means of you all being able to share this information with your constituents and your coworkers and friends and family members. Some of the statistics are really pretty alarming. So, looking at years between 2014 and 2016, traffic crash rates increased by 36%. And even worse, the fatality rate was up over 34%. Now, we can't say definitively that the traffic crashes and the fatalities are directly related to the distracted driving, but a lot of the anecdotal information that's coming out of the crash type increases are pointing to the fact that people could potentially be distracted with other things going on in their car other than navigation and their primary job, which is to focus on navigating their vehicle, based on the types of accidents that we're seeing. This sort of points us to think that there's other things going on in the car. So these crash rate increases are looking at things like rear-end collisions, single car crashes. So if there's a lot more single car crashes going on out there, then you know that there's got to be something going on. It's not, there aren't UFOs coming out of the sky and just knocking these people off the road. There's something in the car that's causing a form of distraction. And then you also have increases in crashes with the more inexperienced age group between 15 and 25-year-old drivers. So, related to some of the other task teams that we're seeing that we'll be cooperating with, there's been increases in pedestrian crashes. And I think this is more where pedestrians are the victims of these situations. There's more wrecks with motorcyclists and bicyclists. And if you think about the pedestrians and bicyclists, sometimes these are folks that just aren't being seen, or it's difficult to see them even when you are paying attention. So now imagine that you're handicapped by being distracted by your phone, and now these folks are the unfortunate victims of these accidents. And some of the other key findings that we're seeing is that before the hands-free law takes effect, that driver activity on the phone is difficult to ascertain and enforced through existing laws. So something with the existing law needed to change in order for police to be able to do their jobs and see what forms of distraction are going on in terms of texting and operating mobile devices. So, and also more traffic fatalities per vehicle miles traveled in 2016 were noticed before the 2010 no texting law took place. So that's kind of crucial to think that we had no texting laws on the books, but the fatality rate and the crash rates are yet still increasing. Just more on these findings. In 2016, Georgia actually led the nation in insurance and premium rate increases, and this is a lot of what prompted the need for this study to figure out why that was, what was causing the increase. So overall, statewide, there was a 12.6 statewide percent increase, as opposed to a 5.6% nationwide increase. So you can see that Georgia is leading the increase there. And looking at where the incidents were actually occurring, it was more prevalent for rural drivers to be involved in these types of collisions and have a fatal outcome versus drivers that were being distracted in more urban settings. And that's mostly because of the difference in speed that they're traveling, the introduction of undivided highways being part of the driving environment, and also if you were involved in a severe accident that resulted in an injury, it would be more difficult to get you to a trauma center in order to have your injuries addressed. So looking at where Georgia was several years ago, going back to 2011, what we're seeing is just more support of the previous statistic that I showed, that between 2015 and 2017, we're really seeing a significant rate increase. And just between 2015 and 2016, we're seeing a 12% increase, which is substantial. And you can see how that got the attention of John Carson, and this really needed to be studied to determine exactly what was behind all that. And a lot of this data has been published. This is something that was taken directly out of the AJC, where it was drawing readers' attention to the fact that Georgia exceeded other states in annual increases in insurance hikes, 12.2 as opposed to the national average. So this is an interesting slide that I also wanted to include, because this shows increases in all types of premium increases based on the type of accident that you may have been involved in, or the type of ticket that you received. Some of these are pretty alarming. If you receive a DUI, your premium increase automatically right off the bat goes up 62.14%. As opposed to some of these other things where if you're not wearing a seatbelt, you might get a 6.4% hit on your insurance. But what I find interesting, well, you tell me, the low figures out there, don't they seem kind of alarmingly low when you think that distraction is something that contributes to accidents? And I think what these numbers point to is the fact that so much of what we're seeing is anecdotal evidence versus direct evidence of distraction being a targeted cause for collisions and crashes. So I think with the hands-free law, hopefully some of that's going to change. But at the time that these statistics were collected, there wasn't any real direct evidence of texting and cell phone violations contributing with much prevalence to increases in premiums. And this also speaks to 2017 insurance premium increases for texting and cell phone use, but looking at this from more of a nationwide standpoint. And what's interesting about this is this also factors in states that have existing hands-free driving. So you can see, once those laws are on the books, how much more substantially the insurance rates are affected. Now, this is information that Meg might be familiar with, because this was taken right off the DOT website. But this points to the fatalities that have been experienced in Georgia over the last, say, 10 years. And since we're still in 2018, obviously we don't know what those final numbers are. In fact, we don't know what the final numbers are. You can see there's an upward trend going on with fatalities that need to be addressed. And how much of that is directly attributable to distracted driving? I think as we move forward, we'll be able to get better answers to that. So one of the other things I wanted to address for everyone is just to more or less distill the new hands-free law down to its essence and give you a real basic description of what to expect when this law goes into effect, and what we can expect to see if we start getting violations, which hopefully nobody was really good. So So what it does, first of all, what it does is it repeals the redundancy of the two existing codes that are on the books now. And that's 241.1 and 242.2. And this is how the points will be broken down depending on whether this is your first, second, or third violation. And also the time frame that you get a violation plays into the points applied to your license as well. May seem like I'm jumping around a little bit, but this is actually the way that it's written in the law. So we'll just kind of go through the law. If you're a school bus driver, you basically cannot use a wireless communication device unless you're using that device specifically to communicate with the school or with other public officials. If you happen to be a school bus driver and you have a wireless phone, the law is going to be treated the same as you would if you were any other driver. So Section 4 of the law basically says what this does is it differentiates the difference between a standalone electronic device that may be in your vehicle versus a communication device like a cell phone or a smartphone. And also talks about how utility services are able to use wireless devices as long as they're in the process of conducting their work. And then we have the distinction between the wireless communication devices and commercial radio systems like AM radio, CD radio, that type of thing. Now the font's getting smaller because there's more information. So this is Section 4 continues. We've got limitations and constraints for wireless. So for all drivers, this is where it really gets important and applies to everybody in this room. I mean, when they say hands-free, they mean hands-free. You cannot be touching the device. You can't have it in your lap. You can't have it cradled in your neck. No part of your body is supposed to be touching the phone while you're operating. It's supposed to be a completely hands-free operation. And I'm probably the only task team leader that's brought props today, but what I wanted to do is just, if you want to pass this around, and you've probably all seen one of these, but this is what I use in my personal vehicle, and what that does is it just attaches to your windshield and enables you to see the phone and still be able to operate your vehicle and have phone calls and use your navigation tools or whatever it is that you may desire to use your phone and still be compliant with the law. And the other thing is just making sure that you're using the Bluetooth function in your vehicle, or if your vehicle is older than when Bluetooth started to become more prevalent in vehicles. Most modern phones have really good speaker systems nowadays, so you can hear the phone pretty well in your car. Or cell phone companies are starting to respond to these hands-free laws that are coming out. And we're starting to see more devices that you can put in older cars. If you happen to drive a 68 Mustang that has really no technology in it whatsoever, and you still want to be able to use your phone and adhere to the law, there are devices you can put in older cars that don't really do that. So getting back to the specifics of the law, you can't have any text-based communication, either that includes written, read, or sent. Obviously, I mean, I know they felt compelled to put this in here, but it had to be specified that you cannot watch movies. So if you want to go see Infinity Wars, go see it in the theater, okay? Don't watch it on the phone inside your car. No recording or broadcasting video. And this is for everybody. This is for anybody who has a general purpose driver's license. For commercial drivers, you can't use more than one button to initiate or terminate communication. Sorry, that extra bullet. And you also cannot reach for the device. And we're still in Section 4. So this breaks down the convictions, how the convictions will work if you are convicted for a violation of the law. Your first violation will basically be the device and 1 point against your driver's license. Second violation, $100. And that's to say if this occurs within 24 months. If you commit a second violation within 21 months, then I suppose there's some discretion where you can be charged more for that violation. For all your third and subsequent violations, it's $150 plus 3 points. And, this is something that got put into the law sort of last minute. But, and I feel it's relevant for the early portion of when this is becoming law, people are getting accustomed to how it works. But if you're able to demonstrate that you have a tool like what's being passed around the room, where you can mount your phone and not touch it, then you're eligible to have your first violation revoked. So this is basically an incentive for everyone to have that extra functionality where you are not going to touch it. And you can get these things for free. Most of you attend conferences as I do. A lot of these things are just handed out at conferences these days. So it's pretty easy to find devices that put in your car to enable that hands-free function.
You're not talking about buying Bluetooth for an older Mustang. You're talking about finding that device to mount on your windshield.
Okay, this is strictly for the mount. Anything that you buy for an older vehicle, anything that you have to supply for an older vehicle to make it Bluetooth enabled, that's going to be either an out-of-pocket expense or maybe grants or other options. That would be something that older car owners would have to, or owners of older vehicles. Okay, so there are some exclusions, and these are kind of interesting. It's something worth noting. If you happen to be reporting a traffic crash, if you happen to be reporting a fire or a medical emergency, if you're reporting a criminal or a delinquent act, if you're reporting a hazardous road condition, or if your vehicle happens to be lawfully parked, you're able to use your phone. And this basically means if you're doing any of these things, or if you're parked, you can have your phone up to your ear to make that phone call. I think I may fall into this category since I'm working in traffic signals and taking signals out of flash. If I happen to be going to a traffic signal that's in flash and need to take it out of flash, as long as I'm performing my duties, then I'm able to use my cell phone under that premise. And then also any first responder during the performance of their duties, you get a bit of a pass using your phone without the hands-free function. So again, what this does is it just simplifies the code, it puts it all in one place, in one box, repeals all the sections that have any reference to texting or writing, and puts it all in one place. So GOHS is in the process now of getting a lot of this information out to the public. There are 30 public service messages that are going to be here, as well as 30-second radio ads that will be run monthly. And you'll start seeing a lot of this on billboards, where you'll see some of this language that appeals to some of the younger, hipper drivers than us, using this one text method. And then there'll be some information campaigns run on Georgia Public Broadcasting as well. And then you'll start seeing a lot of these announcements on markets outside of the Atlanta area, because obviously this is a statewide law, so you want to appeal to people outside of Atlanta, so all these folks are going to start seeing these media campaigns run on these local stations in their area. And then what we'll also be doing through GOHS is conducting media interviews through Georgia State Patrol and law enforcement in each of the local communities, and it'll be multilingual. If English isn't your first language, then we have a commercial for you, as well as reaching out to civic clubs and giving presentations. And sort of doing what we're doing now is just getting the information out there to describe what the expectations should be. There's a couple of websites where you can find more information. There's going to be brochures available online through GOHS. There will be hands-free posts running 10 to 12 times a week on social media. Twitter chat will be discussing the law, and all these other things that you see up here that I can just read out the screen. So, I've noticed that some folks have signed up outside. I appreciate that, and we really do need to get more participation, both from engineering and education, not to disparage anyone on the enforcement side that signed up, because we could always use more on the enforcement side. But if you're interested in getting involved, we invite you to participate. We'd love to have your help. Because as we move forward, this is really where we're going to start focusing on the data collection and figuring out exactly what folks are doing as this becomes a law. And if you need to reach out to me to get more information, or
our specialty is dealing with commercial motor vehicles, the drivers, and the carriers. And we break that down within our department. We have different levels of how we deal with the carriers themselves and how we deal with the vehicles and the drivers. And we field a lot of phone calls every day, whether it's from the public or whether it's from carriers, or whether it's just from concerned citizens traveling on the highway. We deal a lot with distracted driving and impaired driving, which I've got those two outlined up there on the asterisk, that's what our panel's dealing with. But one of the top concerns right now is distracted driving, it's in the news a lot. I'm glad Stephen covered the statistics, because if I don't have the numbers up here, I can't tell you more about it. But I do know the fact that a 4,000-pound car is going to take you about 300-something feet to stop under ideal conditions if he's going about 55 miles an hour. That's a pretty good distance. It's about a football field. If a loaded tractor trailer weighing 80,000 pounds is traveling 65 miles an hour, it's going to take him about 2 football fields to stop. Everybody knows how long a football field is, so you can imagine if you have, whether it's the SUVs hauling grandkids, whether it's Honda Civics, Toyota Prius, how many can you line up that would be within the path of that CMV, and how many would be destroyed before he was able to stop if he was loaded to full capacity when he was traveling at 65 miles an hour? And we know that they all only travel as weekends, you know. I work in Region 6. We're in the high crash corridor on I-75. In southbound, we have all traffic going down the port. And we have commercial vehicles hauling containerized freight, which, if you know what that is, that's the big boxes they load on the ships in. So those average anywhere from 80,000 up to 100,000. So they normally have an annual permit that weighs 100,000 pounds. So 100,000 pounds going 65, which they're probably not, they're probably going 80. And if they get on the I-16, which is an extremely dangerous corridor, as we all know about the crashes that have happened down there over the last 2 years or 3 years that have been so devastating. The likelihood of a crash involving a 100,000-pound motor vehicle traveling at 75 or 80 miles an hour is probably going to be catastrophic, when it happens. So, distracted driving, we're attached to these cell phones. A lot of things have changed over the years. Progress is good in some ways, and in some ways, maybe not so good. When I was younger, if you needed to talk to somebody while you're out on the road, you had to pull over a payphone. Hopefully you had some change. I remember when it went up to a quarter. But there were no cell phones. There was nothing like that to distract you other than the radio, which that can do it itself. Truck drivers are often listening to novels, or listening to books, audio books in the truck. That can be distracting. But out of all the things that are legal, now we've got cell phones and other devices which are illegal. And you can imagine the difference between looking at something while you're listening to something and how much that's compounded. All of us have been going down the road and not had any device distracting us. And all of a sudden, well, I missed my turn, any one of us that says otherwise are only lying to each other. It was all done. So if you've got this compounded by a device in the car that's distracting you, then how much worse is it going to be? Speeding, those top 3 there are probably our biggest focus right now with commercial motor vehicles and drivers as far as leading to crashes. Hours of service, of course, we have requirements for record duty status, which they have to record the hours they traveled, they've driven, and been on duty. We have a reckless driving issue, following too closely. Following too closely, I know we've all seen a tractor trailer right behind a small car or pickup truck, and it just makes you, kind of tighten up and take a deep breath, because you know what's going on with the car driving on the place. But also, we have the other problem with cars just in front of commercial vehicles and slow it down. So we have to, have to deal with cars too. Improper lane usage. Most highways are designated for the 3rd lane, or the outer lane, or the farthest left lane, to not be used by individuals over 6 wheels. And the oversized overweight is something that adds to it. When there is a crash, this vehicle is oversized or overweight, it's going to add to the 80,000, 100,000 pounds, it's going to be a lot more catastrophic than what it would be for a car weighing 4,000 pounds. So, unsafe driving behavior is a big condition for the rest of the enforcement operations as well as special projects and concentrated patrol efforts. These are some of the things that we've got going on right now, in addition to what are normally the daily activities. Excuse me, between the pollen and my German Shepherd, I like the science. We've got a Stop and Prep project going on. We've had that going on for a couple of years now. And this is where we do a 3-day concentrated patrol monthly. Once a month, we put a team of at least 4 officers. Sometimes it's 6 or more, but at the minimum, or the maximum, excuse me, is 4 officers. And we do a 3-day concentrated patrol on a specific corridor, which is designated ahead of time. And we change it up each day of the detail. We're targeting driver behaviors, whether it's falling too close, improper lane usage, speeding, whatever it is, and it's, they're wide open. We have a lot of activity on this, and I think we get a lot of results. But we have Safe Drive 75, it's a multi-day detail, which targets specifically traffic violations only within I-75 for it. GOHS Thunder Task Force, we've done that along with others also, highway safety, and Mr. Page, he coordinates that, puts it together with GOHS one in other agencies. It's a pretty big effort. Operation Safe Driver, multi-day enforcement program, which we've done several times throughout the year. The GOHS multi-agency highway safety and impaired driving checks. These are when we do what we kind of refer to as DRE checks. We have DREs on site, and we'll do an overall safety check, but one of our primary concerns is impaired drivers, and that's drug recognition experts we'll have on hand, so they'll do their evaluations on drivers on the scene. We have MCC and GMTA inspection workshops that we do throughout the year. We'll have a single day where we have Georgia Motor Truck Association guys come in and we'll walk them through the entire inspection process, as far as interviewing the drivers, inspecting the vehicles, and so on. And we have a lot of other projects on the one that probably do you have a name, but some of this is what we do every day, but we do occasionally have concentrated control. That's what we boost our activity. Don't miss the test. That just shows a couple of crashes there, which are a result of usually driver behavior. There's some websites that if you like those to get some more information. First was the Federal Military Safety Administration. They're our federal partner. We deal with those guys. Clay Green, who was here earlier, I think he had to leave and learn. We deal with them on pretty much a daily basis. The federal website's our DPS website. And this last one is not something probably that interests most of y'all, but for motor carriers, this is where they can go to contest an inspection for clandestine error on inspection. That's pretty much it for me.